3D platforming collectathons are a forgotten genre from the 5th generation of gaming consoles. Super Mario 64, Spyro, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, and of course, who could forget the magnum opus, Bubsy 3D, with the innovation of being one of the worst games created by mankind. It was a special era specifically for Nintendo because of how the worlds were designed for exploration. The formula would start to go extinct during the 6th generation, and while 3D platformers would stick around, that idea of a mini open world started to disappear. The Mario series, for example, would stray away from this style with Super Mario Sunshine, Galaxy, and 3D World, which went for a more linear approach to their level designs. Fast forward to the current generation with the Kickstarter project of A Hat in Time, which aimed to recapture the magic of collectathons. One of the more surprising aspects of A Hat in Time for me was its story and characters. It was clearly trying to emulate what Banjo-Kazooie accomplished, but on an entirely different level. Every world has a unique story separate from the main campaign. Mafia Town has the main character, Hat Girl, help Mustache Girl take down the Mafia. Mustache Girl comes up with a plan, which is...
we smash them together into mush and put their remains in a jar.
a little violent to say the least, but it gets the job done. Bird Studio has 2 rival movie makers fighting for the annual Bird Movie Award, and Hat Girl becomes the star of their movies. You'll take part in a murder mystery with a bunch of crows that want to know all of your personal information.
Which body part of yours are you the most ashamed of, fellow Express Owl?
Participate in a giant parade, and stopping a train from exploding. Subcon Forest is without a doubt my favorite out of them all. Hat Girl was forced to sign various contracts with the devil, aka the Snatcher, including making fox spirits disappear for good, and dealing with your soul trapped in a porta potty? After finishing all of the contracts, she proceeds to have an epic battle, and then he just wants her to leave. So she decides to be BFFs with him instead.
You understand that's not how contracts work, right?
The most boring out of all the worlds is Alpine Skyline, which is just a generic collect your plot MacGuffins and then help return the goat monks to normal. Extra story tidbits are included in every world as a photo album that shows the backstory of all the events before your arrival. Honestly, they didn't need to include this, but the addition is a nice touch and something I don't see often anymore. Characters throughout the levels have tons of personality to them because of the voice acting and writing. Despite Hat Girl suffering from main character syndrome, she does have a few voice lines and grunts, such as... The extra animations during cutscenes also add extra charm to her, like when she's cowering in fear when meeting the Snatcher for the first time, or at the end of the game when she just takes out a giant broom and just shoos everyone away into the deep darkness of space. Let's be fair though, character models are rough, like the owls and penguins in Bird Studio. You can clearly see the sharp edges. It's obvious the attention to detail went into fleshing out each individual world and characters instead of the main plot, which is only to serve as a reason to go collect the timepieces scattered across the levels. A Hat in Time is structured similarly to games like Super Mario Sunshine instead of Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. You select the objective to complete, and that's pretty much it. However, this doesn't ruin the quality of the game. 2 of the areas have an open design, while the other half is built around linear platforming, but still have a few branching paths to explore. Mafia Town is the first open level and does a great job of teaching the player the abilities of Hat Girl. The level is small compared to the others and leaves you with hints about future power-ups. Subcon Forest is the second open level. Hat Girl will use bomb cherries to break ice, sneak around a castle haunted by the former queen, and jump from trees to find hidden collectibles. The best part about it is how you unlock more missions. By scavenging around the world, you'll come across Snatcher's traps he laid for new victims to do his bidding, and as you explore the level, it starts to gradually open up. As I already mentioned, Bird Studio has Hat Girl travel through different movie sets and is the most linear designed world out of them all. Alpine Skyline, however, is definitely the weakest. It seems bigger than it actually is due to the distance between each of the mountains, which are masked by a traveling grapple hook that can take Hat Girl to various locations. The variety between each area is unique, as she'll be jumping through volcanoes, a massive windmill, a gigantic bird nest, and a ghostly area that has a striking resemblance to the Twilight Realm from Zelda. There are sub-areas scattered throughout the worlds to find called Time Rifts. A warning will appear on the mission select screen along with a photo showing a hint at where to find them. These mini-levels focus on using the abilities of Hat Girl for precise platforming, and it's a nice change of pace. The designs clearly take inspiration from Super Mario Sunshine, and the developer doesn't try to hide it at all. And I'm not about to complain about that. You can also get different customizations for clothing and remixes of the soundtrack to use for completing these sub-levels. Hat Girl's basic movement options to take on these obstacles are a double jump, wall jump, a dive maneuver that can grant an extra boost of speed if timed right, and an air dive. The air dive is a great tool for gaining more distance during your jumps, and can be cancelled at any time. However, its biggest flaw is Hat Girl can only dive in the direction she's facing. It is possible to adjust her trajectory in the air when jumping, but for some reason during the dive, she's locked in one direction. It took some getting used to since Super Mario Odyssey handled this mechanic differently, and even after feeling comfortable with the way it functioned, I still think it could have been done better. Being that this is a collectathon, what exactly is there to, for lack of a better word, collect throughout the adventure? The primary collectible are timepieces, and obtaining them will end the current mission selected. The secondary objects are pawns and yarn balls. Pawns are the currency used to buy badges from the badge seller who has a severe case of the glitches. Badges grant power-ups to already existing abilities to Hat Girl, including a grapple hook, a decrease in cooldown after using hat powers, a moped, and not getting bonked after ramming headfirst into a wall. Yarn can be used to stitch together hats that grant Hat Girl her new powers. To weave them together, you must have the required yarn along with any other type of yarn found during the journey. Sadly, collecting yarn can become pointless depending on how much exploration the player chooses to do. If one decides to search the beginning worlds up and down, you'll only need to find the required balls of yarn in the late game. Since a Hat in Time encourages exploration, this does mitigate the need to scavenge for these items in later levels, besides the required ones. The variety of abilities Hat Girl obtains from the hats include sprinting, slowing time, making elements of a level appear and disappear, a ground pound, an explosive projectile, and pointing out where the objective is. These powers are fun to use, but most of them are not really needed. The ones I used the most throughout my adventure were the Dweller's Mask and the Sprint Hat. The Dweller's Mask clearly had the most thought put into it. Creating platforms out of thin air makes for some interesting puzzles and platforming. It also adds a sense of urgency since there is a time limit on the ability. Sadly, that's the only hat used for interesting level design. The Ice Hat gives you the ground pound, but it's used just to jump to different locations in the world. I can only recall slowing down time once, which was to obtain a timepiece in Mafia Town. This is definitely one aspect of the gameplay that needs to be improved upon in a sequel. Or did they do it in their DLC? The two DLC packs include Seal the Deal and Yakuza Metro. Seal the Deal shows how new the company was to the idea of DLC because it is messy. The new level included is called Arctic Cruise. All of the characters from the other locations in the game want to take a nice vacation on one of the most confusing layouts for a boat I've ever seen. It's too big for its own good. I got lost plenty of times just trying to navigate my way through the thing. There's a mission where Hat Girl has to do chores to collect a timepiece, and frantically trying to find my way around the ship under a time limit is not what I would call fun. The amount of missions is also lacking compared to the main game's levels, but this is due to the Death Wish challenges. This is where the main meat of the first wave of DLC comes from, and depending on how you like your difficulty in games, this could easily be a deal breaker. The challenges included are not meant for the casual audience whatsoever, and leaves a high entry barrier for newcomers. Every hat power now has a use since they all need to be utilized to make these challenges easier, but it's still required to know the levels inside and out, or else you're gonna end up like...
2, 7, 5, 4.
There's a lot of trial and error, and quite frankly, that was just a huge turnoff for me. The second wave, Yakuza Metro, is way better than Seal the Deal, despite only being a level pack. Hat Girl will travel through a subway system underground with the Yakuza made up of cats. You'll be jumping on top of subway cars and going on different lines to collect the timepieces for the Yakuza boss. I love how the world gradually opens up the further you progress by buying tickets for the different colored lines. My only gripe is that the boss fight really isn't a boss battle. Hat Girl is basically just running away from missiles the entire time on a linear path, and doesn't really provide any challenge. With that being said, A Hat in Time is without a doubt a great collectathon and recaptures the magic of what made the games of old so special. The dorky but lovable characters, fleshed out mini-stories, and the open world level designs make it worth every penny. You might want to skip out on Seal the Deal though, and just stick with Yakuza Metro if you enjoyed the main game. It sucks that this type of game is not really being developed upon anymore, besides Nintendo with Mario, and hopefully a sequel to A Hat in Time comes soon. But what do I know? I'm just some random guy on the internet who wanted to review A Hat in Time, and if you want to see more reviews, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next time.